The scenario is that from then onwards, there happened to be gradual change and progress and enlightenment. Some of us went and we studied and we went back. I was offered a big, lucrative job in Pakistan in Islamic sociology, but I thought, listen, I have a duty to my people. So I went and started to work with them. And others, like Imran Hussein and so on. And we started to work with the Muslim community. Today, my dear friends, and my brother, and he likes to hear this, the Muslim community in Trinidad is 8% of the population. A population of 1.2 million people. We have 125 mosques. We have 2 television channel cable. Muslims own. We have about 10 secondary schools. About 30-something primary schools, all denominational, paid by government. The building belongs to the Muslims, but everything else is government managed and controlled. Religion is taught and all these things. In denominations, Christians have endless, Hindus have a lot, and so on and so on. But Muslims are not backward. We were, twice Muslims were president of the country. The president of the Senate was Muslim and so on. As time passes, some countries of the Muslim world began helping the Muslims in the Caribbean. For example, there was a season, if I should use that term, when Libya was very active. And Libya sent a lot of money into the Caribbean to help the people. Whatever would have been their motives, one of the result was, one of the organization of the converts, if I should call it like that here, who were basically Africans, they decided to overthrow the government of Trinidad and Tobago. And there was an attempted coup in 1990. Fortunately, they did not succeed. But it did bring a bit of a problem for the Muslim dawah. Because, like how you have in other places, the people, especially Muslims of African origin, they began to look at them as security risks. And it created a little problem. So while we preach and teach, and a lot of the Africans are coming to Islam, some of them have to lie low. Because if they are known to be Muslims, they are branded as members of that organization. And then there is a problem. So we have now these kind of situations coming up. And we have to take care of that. Fortunately, the Muslims just presented Islam and was able to make the population understand that this is unfortunate. And it is not the thinking or the approval of the entire Muslim community. The situation at present is Muslims of Indian origin, they are in Guyana, in Suriname, and in Trinidad. There are Muslims, but basically of African origin in the rest of the Caribbean islands. And in the northern Caribbean islands, Cuba, Haiti, Santo Domingo, Puerto Rico, and some of the Bahamas islands, you have a lot of Palestinian there. So you have some Arab element. And Jamaica. Right? Now, Islam is growing very rapidly in the Caribbean. And in each one of the islands you have mosques now. Maybe a little bit here. Maybe 8 mosques in Masjid in Jamaica. Maybe 1 in St. Vincent, 1 in St. Lucia, 1 in Dominica. I remember when I was director of the Muslim World League and I was visiting the Caribbean islands. And I asked the taxi driver in St. Lucia, do you have any Muslims here? He said, what is that? He never heard that name before, Muslims. And I met there were a few Muslim foreigners, And when they wanted to have halal meat, then you had to go to the countryside, slaughter the cow, and then buy the meat from, otherwise you can't get that there. That was the condition. But you know the beautiful thing is they kept their faith. And today Islam is growing. So we have now a lot of influence. We have now a lot of respect. We are permitted to preach and teach. We don't have any hurdles. Some of them do go overboard and openly criticize the non-Muslim lifestyle and the ways, something which is not really liked in dawah, because you don't want to push the people away from you. You want to bring them closer. And how do you do it? By saying, hey, you're bad and you're no good. Get out of here. You don't do that. That wasn't the way of the Prophet, peace be upon him. Abu Lahab tried so much time to kill him. And yet when Abu Lahab's wife was sick, he went and visited her. He said, today she didn't do bad things to me. She has to be sick. So he went and visited her and find out from her what was wrong. You see, unfortunately, some Muslims are not remembering those things. And they are not using the best methodology to bring the message of Islam to the people. So as a result, you have now a little bit, we can move faster. If all the scholars and all the people stay united and present Islam in a beautiful way. But in spite of that, in spite of all the adverse publicity, every time Osama bin Laden did this and this won't do that, I'm not saying whether they're right or wrong, that's not my business. But every time you get adverse publicity all over the world, it is going to have impact, because Muslims are now part of the global village and we are now part of a minority group in the whole world. So it will have some impact. But the strange thing about it is, in spite of all that, Islam is growing. Islam is growing. Every time there is a negative publicity, people want to find out what the Muslims are about. Why they did this? Or why they did that? And some of them end up accepting Islam. You know, the organization that built one of the channel, the TV channel, they have distributed, I think, 10 or 15,000 copies of the Qur'an to non-Muslims, translation to non-Muslims. So interested the people are to learn Islam. You know, a lot of them, they ask questions. For example, if you go on my webpage, markaz.ihsaan.org, you will see some questions that people ask. The publicity, the adverse publicity goes on, but the attraction to Islam keeps coming. And that is a beautiful thing. So brothers and sisters, this is the situation there. Some of those feelings and happenings may very well be common to you here. Because wherever there will be Muslims in a minority, you will have the detractors. They will want to try their best to do their duty. Try to prevent people from practicing Islam. I don't believe that, because that is their mission. So whenever that happens, I don't criticize them. We don't. What we try to do is to make the people understand. Let me give you one example. There was a problem with a Muslim coming away from Islam in Malaysia, I think last year. And that had a big impact on the people in Trinidad. Oh, you must be forced to remain in your faith and all this kind of thing. So we very nicely wrote articles about it to educate the people. There was some other confrontation in a mosque or something, and that had impact. Whatever happens in the world, the non-Muslims highlight it and make it issues to blame the Muslims. On the other hand, Roman Catholic fight the Protestants in Ireland, and you don't hear anything about it. So when we are doing our dawah, sometimes we remind the people of these things that happen. And that is, try to create a balance in the minds of the people, so that they will not look at Islam as, a gun with a fellow with his face tied, and no. They will try to find out. And the beautiful thing is, the brotherhood that Islam preaches and practices. All of them. When they come to the Muslim, they see love. What is this one? But this is not what we read. This is not what we know. And it is helping. So Allah has His way of preserving His deen. And we happen to be instruments. And that is a beautiful thing. This is the situation with Islam in the Caribbean. And maybe the next time I'll come to tell you that we are not 8%, but we might be 20 or 30% in Trinidad and in other places. We beg Allah to have mercy on us and to protect us and to guide us and to bless us. And that we will be amongst the righteous when the day of judgment.
It's already 70 years old and it's full of energy for Trinidad and Tobago. I guess we will have a pause, inshallah, after Isha prayers. We'll come back for Q&A, inshallah. Will I be seeing all of you back? Inshallah. Okay, we'll see you then. Salam.
To participate. The first Indian, the introduction of Indian film songs in Trinidad was done by a Muslim. So, yeah, yes. So that you have a variation in the spectrum of the belief and practices of the Muslims. A lot of them try to be good Muslims, but on the side they have, in their wedding functions, they will have songs and some of them will have these things. So you have those things there, yes. As they are growing in understanding, some of them are trying to stay away from it. It's a real serious battle worldwide to retain Islamic culture properly. Why? Because the Muslim population worldwide is now part of the global village. And in internet and all the other things, iPod and this and that, it's impacting upon all the people, including the Muslim youths. So we have that problem worldwide. As a matter of fact, at one point in time, my son, one of my friends, he came here, Fahim, who, in his teens, I had to buy a bigger battery for his car in order to accommodate the music system he had there. But I know that was a passing phase, although it's haram, 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 yes. But you see, as they understand, you know, what is good? If we educate the people, the youths especially, and give them the opportunity to choose. We know sometimes some of them will go a little, but with guidance and with patience and with perseverance, we do have fantastic results. Trinidad culture is unique but strange. For example, Carnival is coming up in the month of February. And you know, 3/4 of the women, they dance almost naked on the streets. And they believe that is the greatest show on earth. That's what they describe it as. And you have tourists from, by the thousands, they come to that. At that time, there is no morality, there is nothing amongst the people who participate. So, here you have now Muslim youths fighting that kind of, well, on one hand is attraction for them, and on the other hand is distraction from their faith. And it's not easy, brother. It's a jihad, a real jihad.